Então, boa tarde, bem-vindos à Culturgest. Chamo-me Liliana Coutinho, sou a programadora de conferências e debates e vou moderar hoje esta conversa. Estou aqui sentada entre a Diana Nibs e o Puni Jain, que são os nossos convidados. Eu vou só fazer uma breve apresentação sobre como é que chegamos a esta conversa. Se calhar só dar a indicação de que se alguém precisar também de um sistema de tradução, nós temos tradução simultânea. I'll say it in English also. If someone needs English translation from Portuguese to English and vice versa, we have this system, so you can go outside and grab it. Yes, okay. It's really outside. If someone has some difficulty, just let us know how we can help. Eu vou fazer uma breve apresentação. Nós temos uma colaboração já.
You need English translation. We are not interpreting from
Okay. So I'll ask. Vou pedir à produção. Vou pedir talvez a Carolina, só um bocadinho, temos aqui uma questão técnica. I'll ask.
Carolina?
Podias ajudar só a ir buscar? Ok. Então vamos fazer aqui uma pausa, só para resolver esta questão técnica. 2, 3... terás 3 aparelhos de tradução simultânea, sim. So, we'll just do a small pause in order to solve. Thank you. Sorry. Pois. Quando vocês terminarem, nós temos no máximo 2 horas, portanto, tá? Sim. Logo se vê quando vocês se apresentarem. Para quem está a chegar, estamos só a fazer aqui uma pequena pausa para resolver aqui uma questão técnica. For those who are arriving, we are just doing waiting a little bit because of a technical issue. Bom, obrigado por esperarem. Vamos então continuar. And I've just received the information that it needs to be everything in English. We have this. It's the information that I have from technical team. So, if someone needs support for translation, again, please. We have a team there. Ask for help. So I want to welcome you and also to present this talk. I said previously in Portuguese that I'm Liliana Coutinho. I'm the program of debates and talks here, and I'm between Diana Nips and Puni Jain. We'll speak today about criptec, rethinking technology. I just wanted to tell you that this collaboration with Diana, it's an ongoing one, and we did last year a long cycle of performances and debates entitled Political Bodies. It was about non-normative bodies in performance. And this is the continuation also of this conversation that already started last year, but also the evolution also evolution. It's but also we started this conversation specifically about technology last week with a conversation, an online conversation that you can see in our website between Diana and Ashley Hsu, who is a professor at Virginia Tech University, and she works a lot about it. Her last book is called Against Techno-Ableism, and she's being defying, also putting questions to the perception of technology and how technology relates to non-normative bodies. I think that Diana can also speak a little bit more after about this if we have questions, but I will ask you to see this conversation, that it's online. This conversation started also with a quite informal exchange between me and Diana when we were speaking about her last piece that was presented here, and we started to speak about robotics and the idea of working with robotics. At that time, Diana had a sculpture, I can call it a sculpture.
Kind of device. Maybe
yes.
I can also have the mic on, no?
Yes, you have, I think.
I have. Okay.
Can you? Yes.
Yeah, so it's my desire of working with robots, but I never had money to have them, so it's just this dream of rethinking dance and also having robots. Maybe we'll do one day something.
So from this quite informal exchange, we started to think about this conversation on technology and non-normative bodies. So it's...
And also disability studies and how how also we arrived to a state of conflict of understanding that technology is very often connected to a very ableist perspective.
But I think this will be also the subject of today.
Yeah.
Just to give you a very brief presentation of Diana. Diana Nips is a choreographer and writer who is being. Now I have it in Portuguese, and I'm having this problem of changing languages. But she's creating.
You can talk how you see me. Maybe it's more interesting.
Yes, about how this normative body appears also in performance. We have performances as infrequent and norma. There is a very I don't know if it's pertinent, beautiful, also very strong book. The name is Anda Diana. Perhaps in English, Walk Diana,
or Stand Up Diana, or
yes.
Come Diana.
That it's also the title of a piece. That it's also a poem, I think. So, and today she will speak a little bit more also about
my research,
this research on technology, disabled body, and disabled studies. And Punit Jain, that I've seen his work in Italy in the context like 1 year ago, more or less 2 years ago, in the context of a big tech conference. And Punit was the only dealing with disability studies, disability research, and Punit is an artist and an engineer. He's now pursuing a PhD at Concordia University, and is working a lot about human-computer interaction and in quite a critical way, and working about bodies that are normally marginalized. So I will start with Diana now, and then we'll have time for a conversation after their presentations.
So although my land field is not technology, I've been kind of researching and doing a long research also in terms of disability arts, how technology is being used in disability arts, or how technology is actually being promoted in terms of the daily lives of people with disability. So although technology brings all these amazing opportunities or way of experiencing the world, and technology is being evolved and creating these fantastic systems. These systems are very often constructed with and trained on a logical and carcerality, militarism, extractive capitalism, and white supremacy way. They therefore reinforce extant assumptions regarding privilege, power, and profit. So we cannot ignore the medical model that ignores the context, histories, identities, and social factors that have shaped the category of disability. Instead, pushing ideas of core, proper performance back on individual disabled people. So what I arrived through this research is also the idea of technology and being connected to this new concept that is technoableism that I talked in the previous conversation with Ashley Hsu. So disabled people have the right to design and influence the technologies that shape our lives. XR and VR must be accessible from the start, with flexible controls, sensory options, and inclusive virtual spaces built around our needs and not added later. And for that reason, I'm bringing, and also we brought you here, because this is an important landfill when you understand deeply how technology is built to disable people. We reject technology that tries to erase us, to fix us, or profit from us without our involvement. We could see in the previous conversation a lot of examples how technology was input in societies, in marginalized communities, and then they stop being continue and people lose their devices. So our stories should be created and shared by us, and our knowledge grounded in disabled people's life experience and innovation must guide how new technologies are built. Disability is a sort of strength and creativity. Any technology that ignore or exclude us is not just flaw, it's a form of oppression.
Maybe I can take one from here. These are like literally jargons from all these big corporations. It's these head-mounted displays that you use. So XR stands for extended reality, which is like an umbrella term for any technology which is like VR, which means virtual reality. That means you put on a headset and then you are completely surrounded by a 360-degree computer-generated image. And mixed reality, which is MR, which means there is an overlay that you see your physical space and then you also see a computer-generated image in your physical space, just for a small description.
Thank you. So just to come back again, I have a picture here that was used in an interview magazine from Kylie Jenner, and it was featured in 2015. And it's a fashion shoot where she posed in a gold wheelchair, and a decision that was very much conflict was by the folks from the disabled community who found the image insensitive, and it seemed making light of the real struggles and discrimination faced by wheelchair users. So this model, they could find or should find another way to present without the wheelchair being a prop. So the photos lead to backlash on social media, with many sharing their own personal experience of disability and discrimination. With that, ableism is the discrimination that favors non-disabled people and disadvantaged disabled people and shapes how we imagine and build technology. Like sexism, racism, and other forms of prejudice, ableism often works in subtle, hidden ways. By shaping our ideas of what is normal or desirable, it influences what we can design and the infrastructure we create. This impact goes beyond the physical world. Ableism also shapes our digital and technological imaginations. It affects who we think will benefit from technologies like AI, and it shapes how those systems are designed and implemented, reflecting narrow assumptions about how bodies and minds should function. With that, I arrived to this concept of criptec technoscience, and this is where we would like to achieve. It's this independent living movement fought for disabled people to have the same rights, freedoms, and autonomy as non-disabled people. Building on this, the criptec technoscience manifesto places interdependence, neither isolation or dependence, but mutual support as its core. Criptec technoscience combines disability studies with science and technology studies, recognize disabled people as experts of their own bodies, experiences, and environment. It goes to imagine to create accessible futures focused not on curing or normalizing disability, but on expanding freedom. On the left, you can see the picture of a video maker, and the video is Crewmaster from Matthew Burney, and it was recorded on Guggenheim. And a lot of the performers have metamorphosis or hybrid bodies and a state of hybridism all the time. And this performer on the left She's an amputee with very fashion prosthetics, how we call nowadays. So thinking about technology is also to thinking how we create a world that accessibility and robotics or technology is thinking in an ethical way. So when we go to ethical AI, we can understand that to achieve the goal of creating ethically designed and administrate AI systems which are beneficial to everyone, we must first ensure that they meet the needs of and redress the harms to the people most often oppressed and marginalized. Maybe you want to share something about ethical AI, because I think it's something that is also very much about your perspective, because I have a lot about bias and thing, but maybe you
I'll bring it in my talk.
Okay.
Because there is like a section in which I integrate machine learning systems, which everyone wants to call artificial intelligence these days, into these headsets, and I make these technologies accessible with my disabled friends. So there is a tension that appears that what these systems are built for and who are they built for, and how I try to hack around to make them accessible for my friends. So maybe I'll open it while I'm giving.
So because ethically, AI has a lot of forms of bias, and this is not the same as prejudice. So it's a tendency or expectations toward a particular perspective. Assumptions about gender, race, or ability that are deeply embedded in the fields from philosophy and data science to policy and employment, and these human assumptions shape the data that trains autonomous systems. This is very much complex as a viewer, but in the deep perspective of the database systems, the real harm comes not from having biases, but from failing to bracket them, to recognize, account for, and address the consequences those expectations can produce on people, on real life. Ruel Williams say all robots are disabled. I mean, this is in every possible sense. The anthropomorphic robot is always viewed through a deafest lens, a catalogue of its failure to ascend from the uncanny valley. The assembly line robot is regarded with a precarious caution and skepticism. It is only noticed when it fails, become convalescent, and disruption to capitalist efficiency. Our relationship to robotic agents is constantly tensored by our desire that they transcend human limitations and our frustration that they remain inelegant and demand our vigilance and maintenance. Everywhere the robot is, the politics of disablement follow. Nowhere is this more evident than with the bodies of common cyborgs, disabled people whose ontology is mediated through the interface of organic matter and technology. This is something that was also approached in the conversation with Ashley Xu, cyborgs and the manifesto of cyborgs, and who are the real cyborgs. So I'm bringing out this idea of new projects, artistic projects that brings technology and very much connected to what we call the fashion technology. And everyone that see this this is something that is very often on the media. And if you have a disabled friend that actually is an amputee, the first thing you're gonna hear or you're gonna say is like, you should have this amazing prosthetic that la 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 la, it will improve a lot your life. This is absolutely about fashion, and this is very expensive devices that actually no one can afford it. Although they are wearable prosthetic limbs that they are nowadays on the fashion world, and also create a kind of connection of empathy to non-disabled people. So they merge technology, design, identity, and style, and have become an exciting frontier in both of the prosthetic industry and the fashion world. So the Alternative Limb project also has a lot of amazing designs that, if you don't know them, I think it's worth watching them as an object of art because they are not accessible to everyone. And I know we think about technology and we think it's great. I also, after researching, think technology is not great and is very ableistic. But then I found projects that are thinking in ways that I consider them very interesting and useful and very important. So this is Oriheim, and Oriheim is a robot, an avatar robot, based on Ora Yoshifuji experience as a teenager to combat solitude as the theme of his life and develop a series of prototypes to meet motivations of their users. So this is a social opportunity and a social body that people with disability can work in a coffee. So you go to this coffee house and you meet these robots and you have the people in the robots that you can talk through the device and see them on real camera. And people with disability that cannot leave the house or cannot leave the bed, or people with that struggle with social anxiety and they don't leave their houses, can work and actually have a more social, active life. Also, they give this to a child that cannot leave the house and to go to theaters. So it's a very interesting robot experience that I feel is very useful for the disabled community. Other one is the Alter Ego by Arnav Kapoor, and it's a near telepathic human-computer interface. And this develops a wearable system that translates internal speech signals into natural language, enables silent, hands-free interaction with devices and AI assistants. So the person will have this device and it's able to naturally say what he thinks without actually needing to communicate in a more robotic way or to an interface or to someone. And it gives autonomy and support to individuals with speech disability. Finally, I'm finishing this with an artistic project that, for those in UK that might know this project, because it was very sensational and important in the disability arts community. And it's by Sue Austin, called Underwater Wheelchair. And it was presented in an Unlimited festival in UK in 2012. And it's available in virtual reality, in 360 degrees, and standard installation formats in a room. So Sue's work is very significant, both technologically and socially, because it focuses on expanding access in immersive arts. So she and her team developed a commercial viable system for creating, editing, and displaying this 360 content, designed for small arts, community, or educational spaces, for institutions that people don't leave, actually. So their innovation including portable headsets, affordable transportable installations that enable people often excluded from traditional art venues to the physical or psychological or financial barriers to both make and experience immersive work. So her work embodies freedom, liberation, transformation, challenging, and reshaping how disability is typically portrayed. So I'll show the short video now. Maybe we can put the light a bit lower. So just to transition to Puni, just finishing also with a quote from Ashley Shue. People will critique us, disabled people, for not taking the right path, complaining in the right way. But there is never a right way when you are disabled. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. I already have here some questions, but I'll keep them for later. And please, Puni, now it's you.
So, hello. Today I would like to talk about specific type of technologies that you can see on the screen is like a person wearing a head-mounted display. It's a display, so it means like you put the headset on and then you see something. And this is not a very new technology. It goes back to the 1980s when specifically these technologies were developed in the military systems. So most of the times it's like this big US military, which is who are interested in developing these technologies, wants to fund a lot of money to get these technologies done. And later we are here in 2025, these technologies are taken by many major corporations who want to sell it for various things like gaming and like other kind of immersive experiences. And very lately, artists are picking up on these technologies and trying to figure out what has to be done and what should be done with these technologies. So this is something I want to talk about today. And I'm going to use this term XR, which means extended reality. Like I said, like it comprises of many technologies fitted into one headset, which means that you can put the headset and you don't see any physical space. You are only immersed in a 360-degree virtual environment. And then these technologies can be again shifted in a way that you can see the real physical space and you can also see virtually augmented objects in the space. Like I can see a ball rolling on the table. So before beginning, I wanted to give a context like why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I come from. Like once upon a time, I was an engineer. And I did my undergrad in mechanical engineering, and then I did my master's in computational and data sciences, which is a subdiscipline in which you can think about like how to analyze data with machine learning and systems. And for a long period of my during my in between when I was doing my master's and now I'm doing my doctoral studies in Zurich University of the Arts, I started working in these labs called like human-computer interaction labs. So human-computer interaction is a sub-discipline of computer science where like mostly computer scientists and psychologists and many other disciplinary experts want to explore how humans interact with technology and how can we make technology respond back towards humans. But now what I'm interested in and mostly obsessed with is how to integrate these like I'm thinking about technology, but I'm also bringing in this new discipline, not a new discipline, but it was mostly integrated in US disability studies. Now we are seeing it going a little bit wide. I'm seeing it where I come from in India. People are talking about disability studies. This is a discipline in which academic scholars are interested in theorizing about disability, about politics. So I want to begin with this where I was back in India, and at that time I used to work in very engineering circles where we used to make technologies quote-unquote assistive. So what you're seeing here is a system in which Nag Manjari, who had cerebral palsy, is trying to type using her eyes because she cannot use her hands, and of course all keyboards and mouses require hands and fingers to type. So what we had developed here is like an eye tracking technology, which means she can look at the screen and she can point to a particular alphabet, and then she can lock her gaze like in her eyes onto a particular letter, and then it will get typed. But I have a confession to make here is like when we were developing these technologies, I was in a very engineering circle in which all these non-disabled engineers think that technology is going to save people with disability, and they want to make a solution. And in this process, disability is often treated as a problem that needs to be solved, and it's often overlooked. So the confession here is that this was a funded project with Microsoft Research, and all the engineers were working in this process. But we made this keyboard and it worked fine. But later I found that some of the students who were not talking in the language in which I used to talk, they used to do these user testing that we computer scientists call, like, we build a technology, we'll do user testing, and somehow these technologies were working for us. But I found that most of the disabled children there were not able, didn't even know how to read capital alphabets in English, but they were just typing. So that's why now during my PhD research, I'm trying to take a departure from engineering and move towards artistic research, because I think there is a lot that art can do. And so this is something that I'm developing for the last 3 years. It's a project I call criptcensorama. So it's divided into various parts. So one is criptcensorama Eric's paintings, and today I was exhibiting criptcensorama Christian's coffee in Culture Jest, and so I want to talk about it a little bit more. So the outline of what I want to talk about is these technologies. And how, like Diana was also mentioning, like every technology has an ableist root in it. So I'm trying to pick up that ableist root and I want to talk about it. And then I'm also want to bring about how very major corporations like Meta, formerly Facebook, and Apple are selling these devices nowadays in the market. And they are putting out narratives who can use them and who cannot. And so the idea is, like, I want to talk about how I, with my friends, disabled friends, are trying to reverse and hack these technologies in our own ways and create counter narratives to that, and how we use art to do that. So first I want to begin with this advertisement by this company Meta, like I said, formerly Facebook, in which they were selling this headset that you see the person wearing. And I'm not showing this video to show how cool the technology is, but to demonstrate, like, how do they put out a narrative that how the body should move when you put a headset like this. They say, like, when you're in virtual reality, you should do boxing, and then you can, like, do these rapid movements with hand and finger gestures. And these devices often come with 2 handheld controllers, which automatically means that you need to have hands and dexterity in your hands to move these controllers. And it's mostly for playing games. And then the company is also saying, like, okay, if you cannot use controllers, just use your bare hands, because now they have this very big tech, like hand tracking technologies, which can track your bare hands, and then you can interact. And this goes on with Apple also. This headset, which is kind of discontinued, it's like a question like whether they want to make it again. It's like $3,600 when it came out in the market. And they literally got rid of the controllers at all, like completely, and they wanted to say that you just can use your bare hands and interact with technology. And I want to have, like, very critical lens on how these advertisements are placed and their narratives are placed in the market. Because I see that they have covered the people of color, but I don't see any disabled person in this advertisement using this technology. So which is I find it very problematic. Like, are you telling me that these kind of people are ignored or something like that? So, but then this hunger for hand tracking and all these technologies goes further, because the moment these big corporations start bringing in these hand tracking in which you can track hands and use your bare hands to interact with these technologies, all these enthusiastic YouTubers come out and they say, like, VR has peaked, it has hand tracking, and there's endless comparison of people using hands and how cool is it. But all this kind of collapses in the context of my 2 friends on the left, Eric Desrosiers, who is a painter, musician, and a disability activist. He's from Montreal, Canada. And then on the right is Christian Bayerlein, who is a very famous actor, technologist, and disability activist. They produce art. They have been producing art for their whole life, but at the same time, they cannot use VR to produce art because it's ableist in that sense. And this is similar that many human-computer interaction researchers are also picking up, and they're saying, like, for example, Catherine Gerling and Kata Spiel say that VR is an inherently ableist technology that does not accommodate people with disabilities. Its design has an implicate template of a body, which is a non-disabled body. But it's funny because if you go to these websites of these companies like Meta, you will see an accessibility page. But what I find not clear is, like, first they make these technologies and then always think about accessibility as an after patch. Like, okay, we have made it, and I was looking at the accessibility features. The features are like, you can adjust the font size, you can adjust the color a little bit, but I find like it's like the bare minimum that you can do to kind of put a patch on a technology which is ableist from its very start. And this is the very popular game that many VR enthusiasts play. I mean, I just wanted to put it there. It's called Beat Saber VR, in which you can clearly see what kind of motions and body movements and hand gestures people are supposed to do when they use VR. But then this is one temporality of like moving in time and space, and then I'm thinking about Anna MacDonald, who was an activist for the rights of people with communication disability, and I want to read this quote by her in which she says, like, I live life in slow motion. I have cerebral palsy. I can't walk or talk. A slow world would be my heaven. I am forced to live in your world, a fast, hard one. If slow rays flew from me, I would be able to live in this world. I need to speed up, or you need to slow down. And this is what I found is, like, there is no incorporation of this kind of temporality that disabled people know. It's about like understanding time in a different way when you're disabled, be it any disability. And this is also being picked up by very many disability studies academic scholars, like performance artist Petra Coopers, who says criptime are traces of temporal shifting in disability politics and culture, manifesting the movements which are out of time, out of productive time, forward-leaning, exciting time. And then there is Ellen Samuels, who says, criptime requires us to break in our bodies and minds to new rhythms, new patterns of thinking, and feeling and moving through the world. It insists that we listen to our body minds closely and attentively while also pushing it beyond its limits. So in the context, I was talking to my friend that you saw on the screen, like Christian Bayerlein, who is in Germany, and he asked, because we were thinking, like, can we hack XR in a way so that you can use it, because it now requires you to use hands, but can we do something about it? So he asked me, like, can I move in my own time in XR? Can I use my mouth to move in XR? And can we crypt hack XR? So this is something I want to talk about. So before this, I want to make you enter into the lives of my friends. So Eric, who lives in Canada, is a painter, and he, when you ever walk in his his bedroom, you'll see this kind of setup in which he uses a mouse control joystick, which he puffs, moves, and doing this, he controls a robotic arm. So he's moving his mouth all the time, and the robotic arm moves in space. And someone close to him gifted him this robotic arm, and then he was thinking, like, can I hack it for my own purpose? And then what he did with his caretakers, that he thought, like, okay, I'm a painter, and what I should do is, like, he put a spherical rubber ball at the end of the claws of the robotic arm, and then he put a paintbrush onto it. So he continuously moves his mouth, and then he moves the robotic arm using that, and then he paints. And this is the result. Like, these are some of the paintings. I always ask Eric, like, what kind of paintings you want me to show? So he says, like, these are the 4 favorite paintings he wants to show. I mean, I think all of them are good, but like, these are the 4 paintings. In this similar way, this is Christian Bayerlein, who I talked about earlier. He has spinal muscular atrophy, which also means that he has no movements in the upper and the lower part of his body. But like Eric, when I met Christian, I saw that he has hacked his own joystick. So he got a joystick from a company called Movis, and then this joystick was supposed to move his wheelchair, but then he found that the joystick was a little bit far away from his mouth, so he put a straw at the end of the joystick, and then he started moving the wheelchair. Until date he does this, and then because of this, the straw became an important element in the artwork. If some of you came and saw and you were like, why straws? So this is the reason the straw was there. But this is something always was very inevitable for people with disabilities, but Remy Yorgo, a disability studies scholar, says that this is what indeed we should call cryptastic hacking, and this draws on the lived experiences of people with disabilities and the long history of hacking and tinkering that has been performed by disabled people to always live in an inaccessible world. It means like disabled people are not waiting for any engineer in Meta to solve their problems. We can solve by ourselves, and we'll be able to do it like we were doing it before. And this is also something which Diana mentioned, cryptechnoscience, with this concept by Amy Hemre and Kelly Frisch, in which they also mention one of the components in cryptechnoscience is cryptastic hacking, which they say like cryptastic hacking agitates against compulsory normalcy of any kind, whether it's able-bodiedness or whether it's able-mindedness. So we thought about, okay, Christian, we have to make you move in VR. So the reason is that Christian with his disability cannot rotate his head, and all these companies are saying it's immersive, you can move around and you can see 360 degree, but if you cannot rotate your head, it's you just cannot do anything with VR. So this is like a very technical part, but I would still like to go with it. So what we started to think, like, can we use AI technologies to kind of incorporate this kind of movement? So what we thought is we will use machine learning algorithm, which is like a computer algorithm in which you put a camera in front of you and it tracks your face, and it tracks 478 coordinates on your face. Why we were doing it? Because we were thinking if we can track the face, we can track the mouth, which Christian likes. So if he can open the mouth, then we can shift the 360 degree point of view in virtual reality for him. We did this and we were able to move in VR using opening the mouth, but we also found out that these algorithms are super hungry for eyes. So when they don't see the eyes, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. So, but then it's good that I always are surrounded by artists because they always have a hack. So one of my collaborators, like Jessica Duarte, said like, let's put Angelina Jolie's face on the headset and see if it works. And then we found that it's funny because it's like if you put the mask on it, like it just kind of juxtaposes the upper part with Angelina Jolie and the mouth of any other person, and then you can make it work. So you just confuse it. So, but then we were also thinking like, okay, we can do whatever we want, but is there any other company who's trying to do it? And we found that there is another parallel VR company called HTC Vive, and they were selling this thing called lip and face tracker. But they were not selling it for accessibility reasons. The reason they were selling because many VR enthusiasts want to go into these virtual environments and talk to one another embodied as avatars, which means you go into this virtual space, you have a body of a pigeon, you have a body of a cat, whatever you like, and then you talk to another person. And when you're talking to the another person, what you would like to do is like your mouth replicates the real mouth movements of yourself. So these company people thought that first someone will buy this very expensive headset, and then someone will buy this expensive tracker, which was like around for $160. But of course, very few people bought it and it got discontinued. But we thought we should buy it. And then we found that internally this tracker, kind of what it does is it's trying to track certain type of 37 mouth gestures. And it's like open your mouth, move your tongue out, puffing your cheeks, and various type of mouth gestures in which you can replicate the movements. So we thought maybe we can use these mouth movements to make Christian and Eric navigate in the virtual space, like they can move in the virtual environments doing any kind of these mouth gestures. And then we just didn't stop. So we wanted to make more mouth interfaces, so we kept on making these different versions of mouth interfaces, and those of who you tried this experience, you tried with one of those interfaces. But the thing is that when I talk about this mouth interface, it can quickly fall into this idea that Meta didn't think about accessibility, and now we are trying to produce an accessibility product or solution. But Christian says we don't care about it. It's just a provocation. It's a provocation towards these companies which do not think about accessibility, and they try to make hand-centric designs. So that's why we turn to these mouth interfaces to talk about, yes, you can use the mouth and you can use the VR headsets. If you ever, any engineer if ever wished to do that, they could have done that, but they didn't. So we did it. And then we also think of like, how to bring this provocation to Meta. So we thought best thing is what artists know, produce an artwork. So this was the work that I was showing. So this, I call this Script Sensorama Christian's Coffee. And why I call it about a coffee, because Christian, apart from his career in acting and other stuff that he likes to do, he likes to drink a cup of coffee every day. And his caretaker or his partner makes this coffee, and then they place the coffee on, there is a table on his wheelchair, and they place the coffee on the table. And because Christian doesn't need a handle, he has very custom made cups that he likes to produce, like from a French ceramic person who does ceramics. And then he drinks the coffee with the straw for hours and hours. I don't know, like it's like he takes 30 to 40 minutes to drink this coffee. And that's why the straw again came up, because he was using the same straw to hack the wheelchair, and then he likes to drink the cup of coffee with the straw. So the artwork, if you didn't see today, so that's why I have the last slide is like a video demonstration of the artwork. But of course today I couldn't shoot, so this is from the last time I showed it in Ars Electronica last year. So this, I will leave this with the video demonstration of how we stage this XR artwork, and then maybe we can pick up the conversation from there, why to make it, why to even do it. So this is, can we dim the lights a little bit?
There is always a sensation that one feels when in the presence of another body, around a body that does not conform to the norms, around a body like that of Christians.
Normally it helps to have handles, but I don't need the handle. Especially in the context of disability, you don't want to reinforce stereotypes.
Have you ever been in a close encounter with a disabled body?
So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Puneet. Thank you. So I think that we can start now a conversation. I have here 2 observations, questions to start, and then I'll just invite you to bring also your thoughts and your questions. And also, I say the same thing to the audience, because we will very soon open also the space for you to put your questions, observations. So, but I was listening to you, Diana, and I was thinking about also other debates that we are presenting here at Culturgest about technology, about artificial intelligence, and to me it really feels that this kind of research is really a very important part of a broader debate and a broader necessary discussion about ethical technology and ethical AI, for instance. It really touches the questions of the bias. That it's perhaps one of the biggest problems that everyone is dealing every day with. So, and I think that this goes directly to this debate. So, something that I'm wondering is how this kind of researchers, and I don't know if you can answer, or if something mostly to think about, how it's being also received in a broader field of debate of technology in general. And also, when I was listening to you, Puni, you have this history of starting as an engineer, of working with high-tech companies, and then you moved to arts. And you moved to arts because also you want to work in this building counter-narratives, counter-practices. How do you feel the resistance that exists in the mainstream technology field, and why art, the space of art, it's the space where you can do it? And how there's any possibility of infusing one with other, or how do you see it's a work of resistance, or how do you see this relationship somehow? Because it seems that it's like we are still building quite a normative world with technologies, and your type of researchers, they really want to break this. So they need also to infuse the world a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, like when I started to study more about the subjects and also about your work, I think what remind me, or what bring me and brought me more interest, is this idea of it's through understanding the assumptions of what is normal or what is normative and how the world and social norms are constructed that you are kind of breaking and trying to create something new. And this is the basis of criptec but also how dangerous we are kind of in a field that we are so much projected through prejudice and through bias, and also how these things are very much mixed. And it's also so much manipulation around this idea of constructing a world that is based on this. If you don't kind of revolve or trying to change it, or try to create critical systems around this.
Yeah. I'm thinking of like what you asked me, and then I will come back, is like why do art. And then I feel like when I was in engineering circles, there was mostly people talked about solutions. Like they always saw the world which is out there, it has a problem, and then technology can solve it, which is like Ashley Shue calls this techno-ableism because you build a technology but there is another word called techno-solutionism, which means that there is a problem and technology is going to solve it. But in the space of artists, the best thing is like they're not interested in answers, they're more interested in questions. And I feel like that's good, because in that way like you can provoke. And it's the same thing when I talk to engineers about this idea of provocation. It's very hard for them to digest. Like they understand the provocation, but at the same time they're like, why cannot it be out there as a product? Why you will make these lives better? And that's where the resistance is, because this is not about making anyone's lives better, because Christian doesn't even want to use VR. It's like, so there is no betterment here. So, but this is the tension I feel of an engineering mindset in which, and this is changing. Like I can see like disability studies is fused into this discipline of human-computer interaction, and people are talking many critical ideas, but it's still in a very close tension, I feel.
Somehow going away from the solutionism way of thinking, it also takes us away from the savior's mode somehow. This. Okay. I've seen you taking also some notes. I don't know if
but also because I'm thinking like the way of we reshape time with this idea of creep time and bringing this way of, this is something I do in not in my work. My process are not very much in creep time because the market don't allow it, and then it's a struggle. But in the, how do I say, in the pieces or performances, this is something that I think my practice is very much into take a deep journey through a different way of understanding time or perception of your own perception, or how changing the body and moving, and how this takes time, and it takes a deeper journey to something to happen. And mostly it's because the agency comes from external devices or external subjects that will give agency to this reaction through the body that kind of grows. So creep time, it's something that I feel that it's very much connected in artistic practice. But if you understand that in technological terms, it's not really what happens, because they give you an exoskeleton because there is stairs and people need to walk and climb stairs, or a chair that will climb the stairs, but mostly not very useful if you need to put the chair in a car, or then most of the times very expensive in ways that you cannot buy it, or even the way these devices are bringing in terms of disability is so in tokenized that when the exoskeleton appears, they put in the Paralympic Games of Brazil a person with the flag of Brazil, walking with exoskeleton. And for those that understand, exoskeletons is not something that you can use in daily basis even. So it's also very amazing how I connect through the idea of what technology can bring, but then how the resistance of understanding the deep knowledge that technology can be very ableistic, because it's kind of normalizing or trying to make the bodies work in a normative way, and not allowing the body to be whatever.
That's why I think like this technology that I'm talking about makes it's different in the sense that, I mean, every technology is different in its own way, but I feel like this is one of the few technologies is the most embodied than any other technology that I've known, because the moment you put the headset on, you have a point of view. You have a point of view of the world, and you can feel that you are in that space, which many engineers also call place illusion, that which is the feeling that you are in that space even though you are not in that space. And from there I think about time, because I feel like if that is true, if what the psychologist Mel Slater is calling place illusion, then this is the best technology to, I won't say embody crip time. If you're not disabled, I don't even go in that direction, but I feel you can encounter crip time. You can find traces of it, and depending on how do you want it, like you can just have it somewhere and then leave it, and then yeah, I remember like I was talking to this performance artist Petra Coopers, and they were saying like we were like, is crip time, what is crip time, like is it like, how do you measure? And then they were like, crip time is not slow time, like because it gives an idea of like, oh, all disabled people are slow. But no, disabled people are not slow. They're like in moving, like you read by braille and then you feel like it's a different temporality. And they were saying it's an energized, it's a state, it's an energy, it's like you think of it as an energy. And then I was thinking of like how these technologies, people who tried the experiences, like maybe because I'm asking you to open the mouth for a long period of time, and maybe people have told me in these exhibitions is like it was very embarrassing because it's a social stigma around opening the mouth, and you're trying to make me put the tongue out. One woman just left it in the middle of the experience and she said it's a very sexual activity, like you cannot. But I'm like but the thing is like Christian does it all the time, Eric does it all the time, and its mouth is a different embodiment of crip time. So I feel like,
yeah, but it's like the same thing, like when I become disabled, I very often, when I'm driving the wheelchair, I don't even know if drive is the perfect way to describe what I do, but it's like I don't have a hand to bring my coffee with me, so sometimes I need to bring with the mouth, and then people start talking with me and I cannot really talk because if I talk too much it will fall, and then it's happened one time. So I feel these subjects around like what it's allow the body to do and how you should do things or not, and what you can do in the social context or not, like the time out. It's something that is very interesting because I heard a lot of disabled people that they are in institutions, so when they come to a rehearsal, they say, I cannot take the shirt here. And I'm saying, you can take the shirt here, it's fine. Also, Diana nipples, so I take a lot of my shirts. So, yeah, but these forms or formats that restrain the way you do things, it's something that is very much obvious in VR or in the way these phones or even normative technologies work.
yeah.
Around crip time, I also feel like there is something very connected to this idea of time is, bodies need to be efficient and you need to be capital, so you need to be fast, be productive. And this is the standardization of all bodies. And when your body don't match this very efficient norm, you kind of break it. So I think this is the march for crip time also. That is when you are resistant to these forms.
Yeah, I also feel like it's like when we were making this artwork for like 3 years, even though I don't identify as a disabled person, crip time was there for me when I was working with Eric and Christian. Eric is in Montreal, and if you have ever been to Canada, it's too much cold there. So like we used to work, and then he will put me on a halt. Is like, okay, I'm not gonna move my wheelchair outside in black ice, so it's gonna slip. So we have to stop the artwork there. But meanwhile, these companies are not stopping. So they keep on producing new headsets every time, and by the time we are back into production, the headset has upgraded to a new one, so we cannot use the same process that we were doing. So like it's like it's in quite tension, and I feel like that's why like it's there, yeah.
Perhaps I'll start to open the discussion, the conversation with the audience. I don't know if there is someone already. There's one question. I'll ask you to wait for the micro. We have a microphone, and we are registering this conversation. So.
I would like to ask where the word "crip time" comes from.
Crip comes from the idea of, how can I explain in simple words? Do you know the word queer? So it was this offense that the community reshaped in a positive way. So people start to identify as queer, to create a statement and saying this is great, and I'm okay, and it's fine. So crip, it's in Portuguese, comes from the word cripple and is aleijado. And we don't have a translation to emancipate the word still. In Brazil, people are using aleijado, but is different. Crip is not cripple, and we still didn't find a translation, and I don't think I'm the linguistic person to find this in Portuguese, and I don't want to have this role also. And the crip time comes from the proper time from the disabled community. So crip technoscience comes through this fusion of rethinking technology through a disability point of view. A disabled also way of stare that comes from Rosalie Garland Thompson, that also brings this idea of the prejudice of staring from normative people to a non-normative person or to a disabled person. And it has some prejudice in this event.
I think that's beautiful.
It was clear.
Yeah. But I will only add, like, it's a reclamation of this term. It was used once in history, and then it was treated as derogatory, and now it's a reclamation by disabled people to use it again as a
form of empowerment. But is this reclaiming of the term is like handicap, that French people use handicapé.
They still use.
I know.
All
because
my grands have to say that word.
They wrote about me that I'm handicapé. So, and handicap is a very pejorative term around disability. That it was when the King Henry once was doing his gym class, and then he decided that disabled people from the post-war could no longer come to the street, and they need to be begging with the cap in the hand in the beginning of the streets, and they could no longer got into stores or cross the streets. So we don't use it, handicap.
Yeah.
Just to say, in French now, we're trying to change to mobilité réduite.
Ah, merci.
I think it's. Can you please? Yes.
So now, French people now we're trying to change the word de handicapé to personne à mobilité réduite. So we're doing efforts. We're changing that.
Thank you. I'm going to France in April. Is useful.
Perhaps
We have another question there.
Okay, so we can. It's here.
Oh, okay. Just to add on with my question, there's a breakdancing crew. Just in the spirit of renaming the terms, there's a breakdance crew called the Ill Abilities Crew. And I thought I've been using it on myself because I think that term from disability to ill ability, like I'm sick, but that sickness is empowering my abilities, I found really beautiful. And they do things that me with my two okay legs cannot, so it was really great. I wanted to ask, because I'm realizing I never thought that VR and XR might be kind of useless in that way to people with some abilities. Maybe my question is, maybe where do you see the tech being of use and where might that be going? I know it's a development process, but I find the research very interesting. And again, I could have never imagined how VR might impact someone in that way and actually not be this amazing thing that transports you somewhere else. But I'm just wondering which parts of the development so far you might see applicable in future, not necessarily commercially, but in actually bettering people's lives in some way. Yeah.
So I would like to talk to answer your question. I would also like to talk where it's going from an industrial point of view, which is very hidden from the mainstream. Is like, so there was a 2021, like these technologies were there, but suddenly got really famous during the pandemic. And the reason is like everyone was in their homes and houses, and then people thought of like we should remain at distance, and then we can meet in virtual environments. And then one guy, Mark Zuckerberg, thought like, we're gonna rebrand our entire company. So they changed the entire name from Facebook, and Facebook became Meta. Why? Because they wanted to be in this metaverse, in this space of this virtual space. And then he said like this will be Meta, and then Facebook will be a side product. So why I'm talking about it? Because we all know Facebook always wanted one thing, that is data. And now why are they investing in these technologies? Is because they want more data. And what these devices can do, when you put the headset on, they track you from everywhere. They track your entire body schema. And they have these cameras on, which we use for our own artistic strategies we can talk about empathy and everything, but like they have these cameras that track your physical space. So if you buy this headset from this company, first thing that they will ask you, give access, make a Facebook account if you don't have, give us access to all the data. And then they want to make what they call guardian in your space. So they are tracking your hand movements, your finger movements, your eye movements, your body movements, and then everything is linked to Instagram, everything is linked to WhatsApp. So so that's where I feel they want to go, and this is being critiqued by many critical VR study scholars and stuff. In terms of accessibility, there is a huge amount of work in human-computer interaction research community, but I find the tension that still disability is treated as a problem. I think that has to be something, I feel like in that discipline, something has to be radically shifted in which we can rethink about technology, not as a fix for disability. Otherwise, this will still keep going on. And these companies will keep on producing these headsets again, more and more.
You spoke several times about hacking.
Yes.
So I wonder if you could speak a little bit more about this, because hacking has this subversion also role. It can open spaces. It's also related, I think, to accessibility, because we spoke a lot also about accessibility, even from an economic point of view. And I wonder if hacking is also this tool for accessibility in this case, in several levels. So, and even hacking in this most like having a cup of coffee that it's transformed or is adapted, using the joystick and hacking it to have a different use. I don't know if you can, because it feels to me that there is also a spirit of do it yourself in these explorations.
Yeah, I mean, this is there's a lot to say in that, but like so hacking is like, I use this term because I came across this term from a disability scholar I mentioned, Remy Yorgo, who calls it cryptastic hacking, and that's why I started using it, because for a long period of time I thought hacking is someone in a hoodie doing something on computer, and ethical, non-ethical. But then this term came from Remy Yorgo, in which they're saying like hacking could be and they're saying like hacking could be as simple as Christian who visited me in India, and we used to go to subways in India, like in Delhi, the capital of India, and then there is a gap between, when you take subways, there is a gap between where the train lands on the platform and the platform. So his wheelchair couldn't go. So Christian with his partner carries a portable carbon fiber ramp. That's a hack. He knows that he will need it at some point. He makes sure that he carries it from Koblenz, Germany to Delhi, India. So these kind of small little hacks are something what Remy Orgo calls cryptastic hacking, and this is similar what I think we are doing with Christian and Eric. And I think this is a long discussion about whether it's DIY. Because I feel like because many engineers also say, you're doing DIY, and then you have a fancy term, cryptastic hacking. I'm saying it's not DIY. It's not like you you have all these microcontrollers, Arduinos, and then you start producing something because it's DIY, do it yourself. It's like these affordances are not even visible. Like it's not there, and then you try to understand the environment, because with Christian is like, okay, there is VR, there are controllers, how can I use it? So like, and then when you live your daily life by using your mouth and operating a wheelchair, the first thing that comes to your mind is like, can I use my mouth to move in VR? So like, and then the hacking process starts from there. So it was not like we had tools on the table and then we started making the mouth interface. It comes from this history of like lived experiences of disability, and I think that's where cryptastic hacking is different from DIY, because there is a difference of like having this lived experience and embodying a certain type of disability as a category or like a categorical discourse. Yeah, that's it.
And really taking in consideration the Eric or Christian in the process, the actual embodied experience that they have in the process of
and working together.
Yes,
I mean, it's completely with them. It's like, I mean, it's also, I think it's not for them, that's true, but it's also this collaboration in which it's not like, because you're a disabled person, I will listen everything about you, because this is very common. Like, and we have a lot of negotiations, and I feel that that's very important. Like, and then it becomes like, I think that is what cryptastic hacking is.
Because you have different expertises also. So
yeah, because a lot of times technology is being made like as disabled people as being kind of lab rats, so not taking actually into the process or into account. And actually is what society expects from us, that we are really available to try everything from this.
It's always
to become more normative as possible.
Can I point? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So there's a question there. If you want, you can add after.
So first of all, thank you very much. So I hear a lot of words surrounding lived experience, and I also experienced the installation just today, and you raised something apparently during the discussion about the embarrassment of having the mouth open. So my question is, why do people feel so uncomfortable about this in experiencing a lived experience story of someone who has a disabled body? Like, why do you think they feel uncomfortable, and is there a way we can break this gaze?
To respond to this question, I feel like what you're asking is like, correct me if I'm wrong, is like people have this idea of embarrassment, uncomfortability with the mouth, and how can we break it? So this is that Christian and Eric and I have been thinking a lot, because when you're in VR, you are not seeing yourself, and you're not seeing the physical space, and then we are telling you to do mouth gestures, and you always have this sense of like someone is around, and why I'm sticking my tongue out, and saliva and this game, but on the other hand, Christian with this spinal muscular atrophy, whenever he eats with me, saliva always drools down his face. So it's very common. So we were thinking, oh, we'll make people open their mouth for a long time so saliva drools as an artistic strategy. That's why we used a specific part of this technology, which is, this is a technical jargon, you can leave it. It's called pass-through technology, which means these headsets which are meant to enclose you in a virtual environment, they can open up cameras and you can see the physical space. And that's why people who tried it saw that at one point we ask you to open your, so you are in this mouth, it's gigantic mouth in VR, and then you're doing all these mouth gestures and suddenly you open your mouth and you see the physical space, yes, but then you see Christian in front of you. So we were thinking of this, can we use this as an artistic strategy in which we kind of provoke you by saying, if you open the mouth, you see Christian, and what does it mean? Like, is he seeing me? And then you close it and everything turns to black. So it only activates when you open the mouth, which is going back to the idea of like Christian wants you to open the mouth and drool your saliva. So this is like something in that. There is something, and I also feel these technologies, like it's an experience for 6 minutes, which comes from this hindrance from many people also felt nauseous. One person was like, maybe it's nauseous. So these technologies are not meant to be worn for like more than 10 minutes. Gamers do it for 24 hours, but I feel like this, what you're saying, like things that has to be broken. Maybe I produce some artwork which is a durational artwork. So people come every day at 10 a.m., do it until 1 month. Maybe then we can think of like maybe we can break something about the mouth.
Yeah, but also all the immersive artwork is kind of an immersive experience that provokes and creates a state that sometimes it's not nice, sometimes it's more. And also it's when the person maybe sometime later will understand her own prejudice around these social stigmas of opening the mouth. Sometimes we take longer to understand, oh, I was just being silly, it's just fine. You know, so.
Moral is very strong sometimes in
yeah.
small gestures.
Yeah. But at the same time, using hands is normative. If you ask someone,
it depends what you do with your hands, because and it depends if you are.
That's a good one.
It depends if you are autistic, because if you are autistic, you have the gestures that are really not allowed to do, and that institutions are all the time kind of arresting. And yeah, so, and we can go deeper around the gestures of the hands that. It's very recently that sign language, at least in Portugal, is a language, official language. So hands or gestures are something that is very symbolic, and it's not just in VR or technology, in social stigmas or constructions, it's a process.
Yeah. Don't know if there's any other question or comment. Okay, there.
Não, é língua gestual.
Okay.
So first of all, thank you for this talk, especially the aspects of XR and VR were of great interest to me. And I think the critique towards the large companies are really justified. There are in Cologne, where a city near where I live, there's a big conference called Gamescom that employs some means for accessibility. And the question that I have, for example, in the gaming sphere or more generally in the art sphere, is there a shift of perspective towards more accessibility? And if so, which direction should this take? For example, in Sweden, there can happen a performance in one space, and maybe people who are connected to it virtually could interact with a performance that is in a place far away, which could be a way of including people who are have more isolated experiences. So what I'm interested in is what is your perspective on the future developments of accessibility in the gaming sphere, or more generally in the art sphere, and what risks and challenges do you see in it?
Thank you.
I think it's for both also. Yes.
Thank you for the question. There is a lot going. It's not like disabled people are not playing games in VR. There are many YouTube channels in which people in wheelchairs and people. There's a channel called Blind VR Girl, and I think it's around something around that name. And then she's describing how she can go into these VR spaces, and she doesn't want a mouth tracker to replicate the mouth movement. She needs a white cane. So she has developed her white cane for the blind.
Cane.
Cane. So the white cane for the to go into these VR spaces, and parallelly many. I know that there is research going on in this field of human-computer interaction about diversity representation of, like, when you go into these spaces, many disabled people are willing to have their wheelchairs in these avatars, and some are also willing to be identified as able-bodied avatars. And there's a huge tension, there is a huge possibility of taking any identity in the way you want in these kind of gaming sectors. That's what I see. And then there are like many plugins coming for people who are in wheelchairs. I forgot the name of the. It's just a tool in which people who don't have limited movements when they're in the wheelchairs, so they can have like little bit movements, and then so these plugins amplify those movements. Like, so there are tools which are coming in these sectors, but it depends on whether the game that you want to play was built by keeping, because if you want to play Half-Life Alyx, then forget about it. It's not in crypt time. It's some hyper able-bodied time, because you always have to like shoot people, and then you have to be hyper energetic about it. But yeah, I hope I answered what you asked.
I don't know. I found. So technology for me, it's something that I'm also diving in through this research, and I found something very interesting that was a festival created in UK that is called Display and VR Tour, and is created and produced by with neurodivergent aesthetics, and in this collection of digital arts and VR works made by disabled and neurodivergent artists. I couldn't find a lot of work that is really immersive, but trying to experimenting through their aesthetics and their own time, how access and how to change this idea of exhibition and art exhibition around this. And if you can check after a little bit. And maybe I also have a short video that I found interesting that I could present if we have a few minutes, and it's called Territory, and is from Kinetic Light Company, you might know. And sorry. And it was made during COVID time, and it's a VR immersive experience. So it's just the teaser, but I think it's also a very interesting way of bringing the performing arts sector to this new landscape of what is VR and how the audience also perceive performance and actually lives and be surrounded by the performance. I actually never experienced, so I will be very curious to be able to understand how it is and how you create accessibility around these objects.
But I think it's like also the headsets are becoming more and more cheaper. The nearest immersive headset is like $350. It's not cheap, but like now that's why now I can see, like I mentioned Petra Cooper's. She has also another work called Planting Disabled Futures. So they like now artists are getting hands on these technologies and they're trying to figure out what to do with these technologies. So I feel like over time, while they bring the price down, we are gonna grab these technologies and like we'll see more disability-led artworks in VR because there's huge potential there. Yeah.
I thought also we had, like in Portugal, at least in the landscape, after this, I understood that is still very recently, or we didn't even find a lot of technologies that were working around criptec science through the disability perspective in Portugal. So this is something that it also, maybe we didn't find it, anyone, and someone, it exists there, but it was something that also was, it's new.
So perhaps we can start to move to the end. I don't know if there's any other comment, question. I think I have a last one, and I don't know if it's too soon to ask. So, but I will ask. So you are now, you just said you are diving now in this field of technology. So I wonder how this is, or if you can already say a little bit how this is impacting in the work that you do as a performer, as a choreographer, or perhaps it's too soon to speak about it. I'm not sure.
If I was not doing 10 projects at the same time, it will be more easy. But criptec science, it's actually something that is very, after studying all these PDFs, I understood that it's something that is very in the basic or logic of the philosophical study that I bring to my work. And also it's this desire of always trying to work with technology that I still wasn't really able, besides kind of very rudimental devices that I create. So I'm also very interested to understand how these things are made. So to bring something this to my processes, I also will be interested to people understand how this is made on real time, because this is something I do in my pieces. Is like when the pendulum is built, it's something that is kind of, people understand what's happening, the logics. So, of course, not in the real time of doing the montage or whatever, but I feel this is something that I'm very fascinated, is to, we have this expression in Portuguese, is the donkey looking to a palace being built, you know. So I'm very, as an audience, an artist, I'm very interested in this. What is happening there in this, you know, to create this magic world. But yeah, for sure, I would like to be able to create something that is connected.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to say something more now, if you have some other.
Thank you for me.
Thank you to you too.
And thank you for all.
Thank you also. Muito obrigado por terem estado aqui. So I think we'll keep doing this, not next week, but we'll keep welcoming these discussions. I just remind you of this conversation with Ashley Shue, between Ashley Shue and Diana.
It's in the website
It's in the
and
website,
in
so you
YouTube.
can somehow.
And I
keep
really
this
recommend if
conversation
you
online.
read her books because, Technoblism, Rethinking Technology is a book that explains a lot of the logic and also brings a artistic approach in the end, and also to rethink the future. And I think we need to rethink the future in a happier place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liliana.
Thank you.
Thank you.